Thank you for joining me today. Well, this video is part of my rebuild after some unexpected storm damage. We had some really serious rain, power outages that was followed by the heat. It really put a hurting on my cultivation. So I figured instead of starting over blindly, using this as an opportunity to rebuild better and smarter. Today, I'm setting up a 6-way media comparison to test how different nutrient profiles and gelling agents influence fungal growth. I will be preparing 2 nutrient levels, a high and a low. One will be a premix from Kingsorg, my go-to agar recipe, and a Gellan Gum recipe. Normally, I will do my pours for 20 plates. So in this video, I'm going to be cutting down everything by half. This is also the first time I've tried preparing my medias like this, so I can cut down on time in the kitchen. So let's start with the Kingsorg premixes. These are sorghum syrup-based blends. Different from traditional malt extract agar, sorghum gives you different sugar profiles. That alone can influence how fungi metabolize nutrients from germination to sporulation. The high nutrient version is more aggressive and may also include refined additives, maybe like trace elements. The low nutrient version pulls back on the enrichment, which could help with isolations or subtotal morphologies. So these are fully balanced mixes, so there's no need to add agar or supplements. Just hydrate them, heat, and sterilize. We're going to go by the recommendations for the directions on the containers. We're just going to cut everything down in half. Next, we're going to be working with agar and light malt extract, which is my go-to recipe. For the high nutrient, we're going to add nutritional yeast, and for the low nutrient, we're just using agar and light malt extract. The nutritional yeast delivers B complex vitamins, amino acids, and trace minerals like zinc. Just that tiny bit can totally change how a species behaves on a plate. And finally, we got Gellan Gum media. This is a low acylic gellan blend. It creates an ultra clear gel that makes spotting contaminants and subtotal growth patterns easier. It also lets me study morphology that I normally wouldn't see because it being masked on an agar media. For the low nutrient Gellan Gum, I'm using 4 grams of light malt extracts, 2 grams of Gellan Gum, and 0.25 grams of manganese sulfate. The manganese sulfate helps stabilize the gel structure and supports some metabolic pathways. You don't have to use it, but I've had better results when it's included, especially with long-term cultures. And for the high nutrient version of the Gellan Gum plates, we're just going to add 0.5 grams of nutritional yeast. So let's set up our station, and we're going to do our mixes right here. I'm also going to try something I haven't done before. I'm going to try to pour without having the platform. Once I get 60 plates up here sitting, we're going to have problems with the center of the platform pushing in, which is going to tilt my dishes, and it will give me an angle surface once the dishes have solidified. So I'm going to set this up. I'm going to get us right into mixing our ingredients. So we got our platform removed, and I added all my magnetic spin bars to the bottles. We're going to start out with Kingsorg premixes. So let's do the high first. We're going to need a scale. And then we'll add our little cup. For the high nutrient, we want 9.5 grams. And we'll take and add that to our jar. For our low nutrient, we want 7.5 grams. And now we'll add that to our bottle. Our third bottle is going to be our light malt extract, our agar-agar, and nutritional yeast. We're going to use 7.5 grams of light malt extract. We're going to use 5 grams of agar-agar. And then 0.5 grams of nutritional yeast. And this will be our high nutrient mix. And then we'll add that to our jar. Now for our low nutrient agar, we're going to do 7.5 grams of light malt extract, 5 grams of agar-agar, and then we'll add our low nutrient mix to our jar. Now for the Gellan gum. Since I'm opening this package for the first time, I'm going to I added some desiccant packs to my jar, and we'll add our Gellan gum, and by using the desiccant packs, that'll make sure that it doesn't clump during long-term storage. I'll leave a link in the description. This type of Gellan gum, I'm not sure. Alright, looks like it's a package inside a package. So I'm just going to take this. Oh, I was hoping it was going to be zipped, but so I'm just going to get it pushed down away from this corner so I can cut this corner off. And then we can add it to our jar. Turn on our scale, put another cup on. So we have our Gellan gum, our light malt extract, our nutritional yeast, and manganese sulfate. So I'm going to start off by weighing the manganese first. So we want 0.25 grams. We'll tear that out, and then we'll measure out 2.5 grams of Gellan gum. Tear that out. Then 4 grams of light malt extract. And then we'll add that to our jar. We forgot the nutritional yeast, 0.5 grams. I'm glad we caught that. So next, we're going to do our low nutrient Gellan gum. So we'll tear that out. We'll put 0.25 grams of manganese sulfate, 2.5 grams of Gellan gum, 4 grams of light malt extract. And now we'll add that to our jar. And there we go. Now we need the water. So I got our water, and I already ran these through the pressure cooker just to heat them up. And that way, as I'm heating these up, I'm preheating the pressure cooker. So once we fill these, run them right downstairs, put them in the pressure cooker, and that'll speed up the process a lot. I'm going to turn on my mixer. And let's add our water to our first one. So we'll pull up 150 milliliters. And let's pull up another 100 milliliters. So we're going to have to run it a little bit short. And that's what my idea was also. I wanted to see what's my max volume I can run these without them boiling over. So that one's a little bit high. So we'll try to shoot right up here in the middle of this crown. Yeah, I guess we're just going to keep running it like that. We'll just do 250. And then I'm just going to throw these on the mixer and spin these up. We just got to keep them in order. And let's do our next one. This is our agar mixes. Maybe put a little spin on it before I add more. So that's spinning up pretty good. Shit, I'll just add it. See if we can add it to it while it's spinning. Well, that definitely messed up the spin. There's a nice spin. So we'll add a little bit more to this one. And hopefully they don't boil over. Oh, that's a little bit more than I wanted. So set that on the spin bar. We'll mix that up, let that run while we're doing our next one. My spin bar's stuck. And then let's do our last one. Oh, we gotta spin it again. Got a little settlement down here in the bottom. Make sure we get those off. We'll give this one a little stir just to make sure it doesn't happen with this one too. You can see in this one, there's a couple clumps, but not too bad. Well, it's hard to see, but even though we got some particles like in this one not mixed in properly, these are also going to boil while they're in the pressure cooker, and that will also help mix. Now we're just going to put all of our tops on loosely. And the last step before going in the pressure cooker, we're going to label and cover our tops with aluminum foil. Put our aluminum foil over the top. And then we're just going to mark our bottles. So we have all of our medias all mixed up and we're ready to go to the pressure cooker. And I'll see you there. So now we're down here at the pressure cooker and you can hear it almost getting ready to seal. And that's because we preheated it. So we're going to turn down our heat and we're going to open up our pressure cooker. Then we're going to add our media bottles. So what I do for my media bottles when I put them in, I have them really loose. So how I check to make sure they're all consistent, I back it off so it's really loose, and then I turn until I get the bottle to turn a little bit. And if I can back it off without turning that bottle back, then that's where I set it. Tighten them up, turn the bottles a little bit, back it off. Tighten it up, back it off. And hopefully we don't have any blow by or boil over, because these are pretty full. So we'll put our lid back on. Hear that seal? We're already building pressure. And there goes the latch, the safety mechanism. So I'm going to set this to 15 psi, and then once we get this up to 15 psi, we'll run it for 45 minutes. Kingsorg recommends 30. Do my medias longer, so we're going to split the difference kind of and do it at 45 minutes at 15 psi. So now we're back at the pressure cooker. The pressure cooker is fully decompressed, so let's remove the top. So now that we got top off, we just want to tighten up all of our tops. And then over here, I have a 6-quart tub that I lined with towels. So I'm just going to add our bottles to the towel. So now we're back up in front of the purified flow. What I'm going to do, I'm going to take these bottles and we're going to spin them up and mix them really good. So you can see how the sediment is at the bottom when we mix it up before I start pouring, and then it makes my plates more consistent because a lot of the particles will be in suspended. That's pretty cool looking. Now that we spun these up, I still have to let them cool down because I can't hold them long enough to do a pour. And that's basically what I go by. I don't go by a certain temp. If I can hold it in my hand and pour it, that's my temp. But if I waited for all these to get to that point, by the time I poured these first two, these ones here would start gelling up. And that's why I put them in this tub with the towels and such. It'll allow me to work through all 6 bottles without the possibility of them gelling up on me and setting. We're going to move these out of the way and we'll work from this tub while we set up for our Petri dishes. My Petri dishes comes in packs of 10. So we're going to need 6 bundles. Respray my surface. I'm going to spray all these down really quick. We'll run them in pairs. So we're all set up to go. Now we just got to wait for those bottles to cool down. So it's been a little bit. I can hold my jars. So we're going to start with the high nutrient first. So we'll put this on spin. We'll set that up there. And a lot of times I reuse these bags by setting them over top of the plates to help with condensation. Sometimes it works in my favor, sometimes it doesn't. I'm going to run 5 at a time. So our high nutrient has been spun. So I got my bundles in 5, and hopefully we can get close to 10 pours. Let's see. Very nice. This pile here is our high nutrient. I'm just going to mark the top plate with an H. To our low nutrient king sorghum. Very nice. Now I'm just going to take our sleeve and add it back over top of our plates. We got the mark on the plate, so we're going to do it on the bag. Now we're going to do our light malt extract, agar, high, while we set our low out to cool. When we get our plates ready, it's already getting tight with 40 plates up here. So I can hold this. Now we'll pour our high nutrient agar. And then we'll mark our top plate. Cover it with our sleeve. Now we'll do our low nutrient agar. Now we'll mark our low nutrient agar. Now I come into a problem. I can't pour and I can't open up my new dishes without them being blocked by these ones in the front. And I'm already nervous that I'm going to get contaminants because I'm not pouring on top of my lift. But I think my lift, I think these can fit underneath my lift. So let's see if that's true. No way. There we go. Now for our last pour. We got Gellan Gum high low. Let's spin up the high. See how it's spinning it up? Puts all that settlement in suspension, so it's more even through each dish I pour to do our high nutrient Gellan Gum. Beautiful. And do our last pour. Gellan Gum low. There's our light nutrient Gellan Gum. So there we go. Hopefully trying this way, we don't end up with contaminated plates down here on the bottom. Usually when I do it up here on the platform, I don't have any problems whatsoever. It's going to take a while for these plates to set up, so I'm just going to leave them here in the flow. And when they cool down, and then I'll show you what I do next. So our plates have been sitting in front of the purified flow for about 8 hours. I was hoping that some of the condensation would clear up, but having air conditioning in the room is kind of changing things. So let's take a peek at our stacks and see how the center is doing. So the top one and these ones, they got a lot of condensation, but if you look down here in the middle of the stack, we can wrap these ones, and then I'll show you what I do with heavy condensated plates. This is our Gellan Gum, and look how clear it is. Amazing. When I wrap my plates, sometimes I have to use up some of my bigger grafting tape, or my smaller one. There's another one that I have that's more in between that I use first. I'll get these in mixed bundles. When it comes to the bigger grafting tape, sometimes it's hard to break it. Also, when I wrap, I prefer to have the inside of the tape toward the Petri dish, because each time you unwrap it, you're using tape that hasn't been exposed to the environment like the outside has. When it comes to this big grafting tape, the wide one, I have plenty of overhang on each side, so I basically do 1.5 to 2 wraps. So I go around, there's our first wrap. And there's our second wrap. And for the wide grafting tape, I'll fold it underneath the Petri dish, support the tape in my hand, and brace my thumb against the Petri dish, and then I'll just squeeze my fingers. And the edge of the Petri dish will make breaking the wider grafting tape a lot easier. So I'm just going to go through these ones really quick. These ones here, we'll mark them. So out of 10, we had 3 that were heavily condensated. So most likely we're going to have 3 out of this one. So I'll show you how I draw this excess condensation out. So I have a container that I took and sanitized with 70% isopropyl alcohol. I take my plates and then I set them on top. Then I'll take 2 of these desiccant packs. I'll wrap them with a rubber band, and then I just set them up on top and then put the lid on and screw it shut. Now there's no air exchange, and the desiccant packs will draw all this moisture from the condensation out of the Petri dish. So let's check our high nutrient Gellan gum. So we got 3 on top. That one's not bad. Not bad, not bad, not bad. Yep, so it's 3 and 3. So let's move these 3 right in with the other ones after we mark them all. And that's all set. Since I just showed you how I use the wide tape, I'll show you how I use a narrower tape. I'll still have the inside of the tape facing the Petri dish. And what I do, I try to cover the lip and the bottom on the first wrap, and then I'll cover the lip and the top on the second wrap with a little bit overhang, and the overlaps will help with preventing most contaminants from reaching your media. So I'm just going to burn through these ones. And there's our high nutrient Gellan gum plates. So we'll do our Kingsorg first. And we'll look at our high. So the top one's heavy. 2. Oh, look at that. Beautiful. So we got 3 on the Kingsorg. I'm just going to add these to another container. So we'll wrap those ones. And that's 1, 2, 3. We're at our desiccant packs. Close it up. So we got a low over here, a high over here. Now we have our high and low Kingsorg and Agar done. And now for our light malt agar mix. We'll do our low first. We'll take 3 off, and then we'll wrap the rest. Then for a high, we'll take the top 3 and wrap the rest. And then we'll put 3 of each plate in our container. We're at our desiccant packs. And close it up. Now we got our high and low light malt agar mixes wrapped. So let's add these to the storage container. Let's take a look at that storage container. After I pour my plates, I add them to my old Saab. This is before I had a flow hood. I used to do all my work out of this. But now that I built my purified flow box, it's a good place to store my agar dishes. So all I do is I remove my port, and I just reach in, set my dish in, and then set the rest of them right on top. And then all we do is put on our seal. And these are ready to go, waiting for their inoculation. So now let's head back over in front of the purified flow. So we added our dishes that we're going to use later on, and these dishes are going to be the first ones that I use. I got 3 dishes out of each recipe, and this comes in really handy because I won't have to unwrap any of my plates when I want to use them for my next transfer or inoculation. You can kind of look at it as you're saving materials because you're not wrapping, unwrapping, and then wrapping again. And these you can pretty much place anywhere in the room because it's got its own environment in here. So that's it. So at this stage, we completed all 6 recipes, got all of our plates wrapped up, got plates set aside that are going to be used first once these desiccant packs do their thing. Made it this far in the video. I just want to say thank you very much. And now that we got our plates ready, we'll be all set for the next video where we start working with some of our cultures. And I hope this video is able to help people, and I think it will help understanding my work further down the mycelium path when I start using these different types of medias, because I'll have a reference video showing the process from mixing dry ingredients to wrapping and storing your plates. Once again, I just want to thank you all. Your support has been amazing. I'm very grateful. If you have any comments, suggestions, or questions, please leave them down below. Please like, share, and subscribe, and you'll be notified. Thank you very much, and have a beautiful day. See you on the next one.